Possible thanks to the generous support of our Kickstarter backers.
Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired.
Sup, Holmes?
Buddy. Beware your host, Jonathan Holmes!
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining
Possible
us
thanks to the
on this
generous
episode
support
of the
of our
show.
Kickstarter
Whoa,
backers.
why am I seeing that? I'm seeing things. Hunter, I'm seeing you sipping a tea. Australia,
Hey.
you. Is your name really Hunter?
Yep.
What's your real name?
Hey, I totally.
My name is really Hunter.
Oh, I heard something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You're
that's
really
totally
Hunter.
botching the intro.
Oh, everything's
Let's go
botched.
with it.
We're going with it. We're running with it. His name's really Hunter. And the reason I asked that is because it seemed almost too good to be true. Like if there was a guy making a game about sushi and his name was called Fishpole, or if there was a guy making a game about trees and his name was called Chainsaw, and there is a guy named Chainsaw.
Well, I'm not making a game where you hunt people down.
True. I think.
Yet.
I mean, are you? No one knows exactly what you're
I've
doing.
got a pretty big list of ideas, so I definitely might at some point.
So maybe your name, Hunter, is apropos, or maybe it isn't. All we know for sure is that there's going to be bears involved, I think. I mean, I've never
Bears
seen
and naked Danny DeVito, and I apologize for all of our sensitive-hearted viewers. Because there will there will be naked Danny DeVito.
So it is naked Danny DeVito, brown or black hair. So it's kind of a classic DeVito as opposed to current day gray haired DeVito. No genitalia, I think.
Well, yeah, that is a topic of discussion because there's do you put a dong on them or don't you? I don't know. You're kind of, there's obviously more physics if you go with option number one, which I don't mind.
You seem to like physics.
But yeah, and I think I could make that work. I don't know. I've had many requests for Danny to be anatomically correct. So that might happen at some point. Actually, right now I'm putting clothes on him.
Like
because I'm gonna make
while you're doing the show.
Maybe I've got Blender on one of my screens, so I might. We'll see how it goes. But I want to make a build that is, I don't want to say kid friendly. I guess kid parent friendly because parents are probably the ones that don't want their kids playing with naked Danny DeVito. So I'm gonna make a build that's gonna be okay for you to fire up at like a family get together and everyone gets to ride around on the bear and jiggle around and stuff like that.
Clothes. So it's sounding like there may be
There,
3 tiers.
There will be clothes.
Not anatomically correct, but nude, and then balls.
Yeah, and then and then one of the ideas for Bear Rodeo is that you progress as you progress through the different levels. Danny's got clothes on, and then if you went around, a piece of clothing flies off. So it's basically like a strip rodeo, which I'm fairly confident hasn't ever been done. And so the closer, the final level is obviously naked Danny DeVito. And I'd like to publicly apologize to Danny. I've sent you a couple of notes and you haven't responded. I'm assuming the first time I do actually hear from you, it'll probably be from your legal team. But I just want to go ahead and apologize, Mr. DeVito.
When you say you sent him a couple of notes, do you mean you sent them by mail? You kind of handed them to him at events?
No, just I've sent him maybe 10 tweets. Well, no, probably like 20. I've included him on some of the posts. I've tagged his name on some of them. Yeah, so far no response. But I assume they're just collecting it all as evidence. So
it could be that he just doesn't know. You probably heard this already, but he was at a recent It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia event, and someone in the audience asked Danny DeVito, do you plan on playing Detective Pikachu in the upcoming Detective Pikachu video game? And he said, what the fuck's a Pikachu? He had no idea. So he may not know what Twitter is. He may not know what you are, what an @ before a name is, or how to respond. Any of this.
I don't know. I assume he spends his spare time like out in the wild foraging for berries. I don't know what he does in his spare time. He may not actually look at his Twitter feed. I don't know.
It's hard to guess what. I mean, we know he's a man. We know he's human. We know he's
he's part man. Yeah, he's part man. He's part beast, obviously. If you've seen enough of his work, you know he's part beast as well.
He directed Death to Smoochie, if I remember correctly. He was married to Rhea Perlman, famous for playing Carla on Cheers. So he's had a life. He may have children. He may have human children.
Human children.
And he's, hard to guess how healthy he is, but easy to guess that he's not. He's a small, squat fella. He may not be living for much longer. He may say, go to town with this bear rodeo thing. What have I got to lose at this point?
That's grim. That's really grim, Jonathan.
Coming from you. Yes.
The story behind where Danny came from is I've watched every It's Always Sunny at least 3 times. And there's this one episode where Charlie mentions that they never play night crawlers anymore. And they leave it at that. And you're left to guess what this game called Night Crawlers is. And so probably about a year ago, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make Night Crawlers the game. And all they say about it is it's a game where you crawl around in the night like worms. And Charlie and Frank played it. And so I was going to make just a real short Night Crawlers game using all the physics animation stuff that I do. Them wiggling around on the floor. I don't know what they're going to be doing. I guess picking up bottles of whiskey or something. I don't know. But I was just chatting with some lawyer and he's like, nope, stop. IP infringement. Don't even go there. So I was left with a naked Danny DeVito model, and he was naked because at the time that I made him, I didn't know how to model clothing just yet, and I'm still not great at it. Doing all the weight painting and all the tedious, oh man, that stuff it'll drive you insane after a while. Yeah. So I was left with a naked Danny DeVito, and I had to find something for him to do. That's where he came from.
So the lawyer who you were just chatting with, I'm just picturing you like walking down the street and there's a lawyer just there.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, how about this idea, Night Crawlers? And he's like, IP infringement. And then you run. And you're like, I gotta quickly fix this. I mean, this is a
it was a bus stop.
So you get
he had a little tag on. Said lawyer.
So you get rid of the night crawling, and you're like, all right, I'm left with this naked Danny DeVito. I'm safe. No potential lawsuit here now. IP infringement over. Moving forward with naked Danny DeVito just riding a bear. That'll be for sale.
And I can't. I made a build or GDC, the last GDC, that I brought to GDC. People got to play just a real basic build of the Bear Rodeo game. I call it Naked Danny DeVito Power Rodeo 2. If I actually sell that thing at some point, I got to get rid of Danny's name. I mean, I can't use, unless I did send him a note yesterday asking if he would endorse a game where he's a really chubby yoga instructor. But if he could endorse it, that would be good, but I don't know that's going to happen.
So, Danny DeVito Power Rodeo 2? It has been played. One of the mysterious things about you, Hunter, and there's so many mysterious things. You're one of those developers whom I was ready to, in a year's time, say, like, oops, a great show, was happy to have him on, but he doesn't actually make video games. I was tricked. Like, and it's happened before. Some frequent viewers, listeners to the show have told me, like, oh, I was listening to an episode from 2013. That game never came out, and that guy just like disappeared. Like, it happens now and again.
Yep.
Every time I have a guest on the show, it's a roll of the dice. You could end up just being a liar.
Yeah.
There's no way I could know. But you're attesting to the fact you have actually made a thing people have played.
Mhm.
Awesome.
I've made 2 things actually, and people have played it and they have laughed their ass off. So I'm officially not one of those people, and I am working on longer video games. So I made 2 demo builds for GDC that people played a lot of, and they loved it. One of them was Naked Danny DeVito Power Rodeo 2, and then the other one, I'm just calling it Thunderdome for now, and it is a multiplayer. Have you seen the Thunderdome clips that I've done, Bear in a Thunderdome?
Yes,
Okay. So, and honestly, I don't know if I've ever put that GIF up. I have a build, a fully functional, playable build. People can win, but it's 4-player. You're in the Thunderdome, and you can bounce around and get different weapons, like chainsaw nunchucks or a trogdor head to set people on fire, and you can play it, and there's a winner. So technically, I've made 2 games.
Awesome.
Tiny games.
And do you think they'll? Have you had an idea of where these games would go? Presumably, personal computer seems like a good fit. But there's a lot of places they can go. Would they come in a package, like a violent bear compilation? Because the bear is relatively violent in both games, though in a different way. And of course, there's the another game I've seen that you seem to be working on, which is like bear in a corridor, and he's just walking, and those that game idea is tied to the Thunderdome. So one of my game ideas will be, the idea behind the game is that you got this bear in this Thunderdome, and he's actually in this complex, like this facility. So in this facility, you have different fighting arenas. So the bear, he's going to work his way through these different fighting arenas. And they might be different theme, might be different weapons, the different fighting arenas. But the idea is that this is like a, what's the word? This is like a I don't want to say post-apocalyptic, but he's in this facility that it's also part entertainment complex. And so if you think of like these fighting cages, and then overlooking that are like nice marble buildings with glass front, and that's where the high society comes to watch the matches, right? So they come to watch essentially gladiator matches. And the story is that the bear escapes from one of the fighting arenas. He makes his way into the facility, and he has to maul his way out to freedom. In the process, he's got to save some of his homies, and then he's also got to kill the warden. So that's the game idea there. So the scene in which he's stalking his way through the hallway is one of the hallway scenes, and it's inspired by the Old Boy fighting scene, in which it's just a side shot of this really gritty hallway, and he's just whooping ass all the way through it. One continuous shot, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it was really cool. So I decided, instead of like modeling this big elaborate complex, instead what I'll do is I'll just do the fighting arenas, and then each of the fighting arenas are going to be connected by a hallway. So it should be an easy transition. You fight in this arena, you work your way through a hallway, and the hallways get harder as you progress, different baddies and all that kind of stuff. So and then the final, right now I'm thinking that the final scene is this really elaborate, extravagant ballroom, because it is part entertainment complex, right? And so to kill the warden, I'm thinking last level is just a big elaborate party scene, in which he's got to work his way through this party and then go take down the warden and finish leaving the facility.
So could he just leave the facility? But he's choosing to get the warden in order to help his friends, in order to have justice be
it's like
served?
the Matrix. Let's, we gotta take society down. He's got to take out the man.
It's exactly like the Matrix. This is actually
basically the
original
Matrix.
script for me.
Yeah, they hired Keanu instead
of
a bear.
Roscoe, I believe his name is. Is that right?
Roscoe.
Yeah.
His name is Roscoe.
I'm really curious about the warden. Do you have that set in stone, or do you have multiple ideas for who the warden might be?
So as far as like what they look like, who they are, I don't know yet. I'm still sketching all that out. I'm trying to juggle at least 4 game ideas right now. I don't work on one. Usually I don't work on one for like a really long chunk of time. I'll usually bounce around a little bit, because sometimes, for all the game developers who are watching this, that after a while you kind of start spinning your wheels on a project, and it's nice to work on something else for a little while to get your brain back on track. So that's basically what I do. I just bounce around between my 4-ish projects right now.
And that's Power Rodeo, Thunderdome,
Yep.
Bear in a Hallway. And what's the
Thunderdome and Bear in the Hallway are the same. So it's going to be
2.
Thunderdome, the Bear Rodeo, and then we've got Burrito Quest. Have you seen Burrito Quest?
I've seen Burrito Galaxy 64.
Go to the web. Oh no, go to the website. Go to my website right now, and the punchesbears.com.
All right.
And then over, just scroll down a little bit. There's one called Burrito Quest, and the idea behind this game is that you are a guy who can barely walk.
Why did this website get so filled? Oh, I remember Burrito Quest now. Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
I fixed up the model a little bit.
Okay.
He's now a lot more awesome looking, right? He's got a mullet.
Awesome. I mean, he was
And a Fu Manchu. But the idea behind Burrito Quest is that he can barely walk, but he really wants a burrito. That's what it boils down to.
He's on a quest for that burrito, I think.
Yeah, and so it's based on this YouTube video that I saw a while back, in which this guy who can barely walk goes into a convenience store. And he is obviously either drunk or on something, ketamine or I don't know what he's on. But it takes him like 10 minutes to walk a few aisles over, grab him a 6-pack of wine coolers or whatever he's getting, and then work his way out of the store. So, and it's, I think I've got the link on the site to that original video, but I thought that was the funniest thing I'd seen in a while. Funny / sad. Hope the guy's better now. But the game idea was based on that. I had a dream one night, and I really wanted a burrito. And I woke up at like the 3 a.m., the witching hour, and my brain was still kind of going nuts a little bit with ideas. And so I thought of that video for who knows why, and combined it with the idea of a burrito. And I just got out of bed at like 4 a.m, and I had the basic Burrito Quest prototype made by that night. But that's gonna be a fun one. So Burrito Quest is the third. The fourth one, I haven't talked about it a whole lot, but that game is called Black Friday. And it is the idea of, the day after Thanksgiving, right? it's Black Friday, so huge sales, and we always see the news stories of people getting trampled and like someone punching an old lady for a toaster or something like that. And I look forward to those every single year, those Black Friday stories, because it's the most absurd. You can see the Black Friday videos on YouTube, and it's people just going insane. I'm going to get a big screen for like $100, and so it turns into like a mixture of a sales event combined with like the Lord of the Flies or something, or like the rage virus. Everyone's going insane. And so that game is going to be you're a person in a big crowd of people, gates open at a Walmart type place, and you have to get as much as you can. So you can go and grab, like a blender or something like that, but someone's going to run up and punch you in the face and make you drop it. And if you want that blender, you're going to have to fight. So it's kind of gladiator-ish. If you can make it to the checkout and live, then you'll get some stuff. That's the basic idea.
With money stuff. I mean, I assume
you do. I don't know how. Yeah, exactly.
That's hard. And when you get the blender, are you going to like just video gamey auto grab it, or do you have to like hold on to it? Because you're so physics. Like everything you do has this underlying love of physics attached to it. So I don't know if the blender will be able to pop out of your arms.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Because let's say you go and run and you grab a toaster, and you go and you run and you grab like a shake weight, right? Because you got to have one of those. And then you go, I don't know if you're holding those, if you can also hold a big screen TV, which is the ultimate, right?
Right.
I'm thinking probably I'll do all of that physics, because the idea of holding all of that and barely being able to walk is funny. But also, if someone comes up and just punches you in the face, it would be pretty satisfying to see all that stuff just fly everywhere,
Yeah, and you could potentially, you see somebody running for a TV, you're holding a blender, you could somehow get the blender in front of them so they trip on the blender, you kind of sacrifice the blender in order to then get the TV. You could kick a TV all the way down to the register and then buy it. Even though it's clearly, not in the best shape anymore, but you don't care. It's TV time, Black Friday.
That's great. No, I like that idea, being able to kick items all the way to the register. It'd be pretty cool if you could like beat someone up with a shake weight, or or something. Another modern day consumer electronics, iPhone or iPad or something.
Oh, sure. And I'd love to see the player character after you, the player, are out of the story. So you've like done your job. You've commanded this mysterious person to buy their things, and now you're stepping back and watching the ending cutscene, and you see them come home with all this stuff in their family, and then like unpack the TV, which has a huge crack in it, and the blender's covered in blood and whatnot. They're just like, Merry Christmas. That would be a hoot. This sounds like a great game, Black Friday. I'm excited about it.
Give your family all these broken electronics, and your face is all jacked up, and you got like a black eye and a missing tooth and stuff.
Tears, and you're just like, it was worth it. Yeah.
I was talking to, I'm buddies with some of the guys who made Broforce,
cool.
Evan and then Ruan. And at GDC, we went out drinking. And those guys are really funny and creative. And so we talked about Black Friday for a while. And they're actually starting to do some, or at least Evan, I guess Ruan is too, but they're starting to do some physics stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the couple different prototypes that Evans put out, pretty physics driven. So we chatted about all of that stuff. But that was a hoot. They like the Black Friday idea, and they helped me flesh that out a little bit more.
Cool. And when it comes to physics, has that been the primary kind of game hook that you've always used, or are there games you've done before that we've just never heard about that didn't use physics as
No.
central. So was it the physics that drew you into, like, I wonder what the chicken and the egg is there.
Yeah.
Just how fun these physics engines can be, and then you wanted to make a game around them, or did you want to make a game that discovered physics as a way to propel those games forward and to create something that feels alive, so you went forward from there?
Well, for starters, I've only been doing game development stuff less than 2 years. So I guess a little less than 2 years ago, I opened up Chrome and typed in how to make video game plus computer plus good. I didn't know anything. And so that's where I started about 2 years ago. I made a few little prototypes that I don't know that I've ever shown, but were fun enough. They weren't physics-based. One of the first things I did was create a voxel engine, which is pretty tough for one of my first projects, but it worked. And I'm sure a lot of developers had this happen to them at some point when they're making games. But with that, I made this voxel engine and fired it up, and it was like I had a few eureka moments, and that was one of them. And with that particular thing was really the first time I had made this world that you can go and walk around in. And it was, for hours, I just walked around, it made all these kind of like arching structures, and, it's a voxel engine, so it's just Minecraft-y looking. But the thing is, it's all random, and you can go for hours. And I was just fascinated that, you kind of feel like a god. You create this little world that you can go and walk around in, very Tron-ish. And so after I made that, I made this little space prototype with this little pixel art space dude, and he was traveling the galaxy and all this kind of stuff. But at some point, I put a three-dimensional planet in there. And that's kind of where the 3D stuff started, and that's where the physics stuff started, because you got to get gravity involved. And, if you land on a planet, gravity isn't just wide down, right? It's towards the center of the body. So I got started with physics there. That's right around the time that I think I noticed Gang Beasts. And I really liked the physics animation stuff that they were doing. And so there's a couple of different ways to go about the physics animation stuff. You can like blend the physics with traditional framed animation. You can kind of blend between the two. Or you can just do straight up physics. And so I went with let's just do straight up physics, because blending between those two, there's a whole set of challenges. So I decided that let's just try all physics, and there's barely any information out there at all for doing this kind of stuff. You can find snippets here and there, but there's not, no one sat down and said, here's how you make physics animations with ragdoll characters. So started from scratch, and I built a physics engine inside of Unity. I just built a custom, not the physics engine, the animation engine. So I built an animation engine that just uses physics forces. And with that system, I can create an animation for, one of my characters. Like, if you think about, like, the most simple physics animation is just standing up. picture a rag doll. You know, it's made of different body parts. So if you wanted that thing to stand up, you can apply a force to its chest just going up, right? And you can self-regulate that by saying only apply this force if the Y position is less than 3, or whatever the standing height is. And so that thing will keep going up unless it's above whatever height you specify. And so it'll stand up. So that's about the most basic animation that you can do with physics. And everything else uses that same concept. It's just a lot of tweaking, like a walk cycle can be kind of tricky. So I didn't start with physics, but I decided about a year ago that I just wanted to go full blown. Let's just figure out all this physics stuff. And I started learning everything required to do that, which is pretty wide body of knowledge, even for ragdoll stuff, like a ragdoll setting up the joints and everything. Like you can have a joint, how high and how low can your shoulder go? So tweaking all of those for probably 6 months, just tweaking ragdolls. If you don't do it right, they will explode. You've probably seen videos where ragdolls just turn into this big mess. The ragdoll spaghetti monster. If you don't,
I think so.
You've seen them before. Ragdolls, they get all like stretchy and just kind of go nuts.
There's an artist, a fine artist of sorts, who I can't remember his name. It's like Osmo or something. He'll take a realistic polygon model, looks real. It's not something that most games can handle, and just drop it, and then it'll just like mush and turn into jelly. And bounce around and take like 100 of them and have them, and people are endlessly fascinated with watching him do this stuff.
I've seen that. I think he's doing all of that probably in his whether he's using Maya or Blender or something like that. I think he's rendering all of that out through there. I don't know if he's using, I guess Blender is a game engine.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, but
he's not
I've seen
a
those.
developer that I know of, but the fact that people are just so drawn to his stuff, and are drawn to your stuff too, I would say, just from a visual standpoint, there's some stuff in common there where you're seeing something and the line between it looking real and looking unbelievable, looking surreal, looking like it's made out of pure feeling, that line is mushy and fun, that you can't help but be drawn to watching it over and over again. And for you, from what I could tell, just your GIFs on twitter.com caused you to go from having like 20 followers to how many you have now and ending up at GDC. It seemed like you were one of fellas, Moppin, Ojiro, who made Downwell. He's another one. He made a GIF of the thing and he was like, looks fun. And now he's a real guy. He's a real man now. And
he's
you're
a real boy. Yeah. I've become a real man.
Is that how it happened though? Was it GIFs that helped people to discover you and for you to discover for yourself that you were doing something that was going to have an audience?
Yeah, I posted on Reddit a few times, which I'm growing to hate Reddit, just because you can post stuff on there that is interesting, but it just disappears, like instantly disappears. There's like a handful, you can post like, I don't know, let's do a funny cat GIF or something like that. But anyway, I started posting on Reddit. People liked it. If you post on like the Unity forum on Reddit, I started posting there, got a lot of good feedback, and I decided to set up a Twitter account and just start posting there, and just kept adding stuff. People liked it. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, one of the things you just said, is things look kind of organic, or I forget how you phrase it, but the whole ragdoll thing.
Sure.
With animation stuff, like in video games. If you're playing a game and it's the same animation over and over, like, you know, kick, punch, flip, or whatever it is, if you have all of those animations and they're the same every time, like I tend to just tune out to the animations because it's just the same thing over and over and over, right? So one of the things that I decided is, like with animation stuff, I don't want to know what's going to happen. Like I don't necessarily want to know exactly what it's going to look like. Let's get it in the ballpark, but I don't want the same thing every time. And really the only way to do that is just let the physics engine either do some of the animation or to do all of it. So a walk cycle for one of my characters is never going to be exactly the same. It all depends on, you know, are they walking on a rock? Are they jumping? Or, you know, whatever it is. It's going to be different every time. And to me, and I think that's why like Gang Beasts blew up, is it's pretty much all physics, and you don't know. Imagine Gang Beast with pre-canned animations. You know, it'd still be fun, but it would just be very predictable and nowhere near as funny, right?
Sure.
So I want to be surprised by the animations. So essentially, what I'm doing is I'm letting the physics engine do the animation, and I'll generally know what's going to happen, but I don't ever want to know specifically how it's going to look. Let's just get close and see what happens.
It speaks to the idea that comedy in games is something that we maybe haven't seen come even close to reaching its full potential, because so much of comedy is about that unpredictable moment where the comedian doesn't always know exactly how things are going to go either. It's an organic moment of discovering a truth and speaking that truth in a way that surprises everybody. If it's an obvious truth, it's not funny. If it's a truth we all feel but don't consciously know, and then all of a sudden we see it in front of us, then we start laughing. Very hard to do that with traditional video games, as they're non-scripted for the most part. They're scripted in terms of what's written in the game. The coding is scripted. It's scripted on multiple levels. Whereas what you're doing, so much potential for comedy, but not a lot of people have ventured towards it before, because from what I can tell, a lot of people who want to get into video game development, they don't want to leave that much to chance. One of the Jonathan Blow was on the show not that long ago. I don't think he could handle The Witness making a game. I don't think he could have made The Witness with a jiggly physics bear with chainsaws. Like, he would have been like, I can't deal with this. This isn't, controlled enough. He's such a meticulous genius when it comes to coding. But
I bet he's regretting that when he saw the Danny DeVito gifts. I bet he is thinking right now, I really missed out on a pretty good opportunity to, Danny DeVito in The Witness as third person without close.
Physics engine, completely
You're right.
unpredictable how he's gonna move. You see Danny solving the puzzle and just flailing around,
cursing and grunting. It's just a different, it's a different beast entirely. And what you say about comedy, that's true. I mean, I like comedy that kind of sneaks up on you, right? So I don't, I guess like TV shows where you have like the canned laughter in the audience. No, the humor that I personally like is I like it when you have no idea a joke's coming and then bam,
Sure. And It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which you like. Those characters are never laughing at what they're saying. They think what they're saying makes perfect sense. But through what they're saying, they're revealing stuff about themselves that they're not always aware of. That's hilarious. Stuff that's true about how gross all of us can be at times. Hence the comedy. I explained a joke. No, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on my mind though. I was recently on a panel about comedy in games, which was weird because I've never made a comedy game, but they asked me to be on it.
Mhm.
And I was alongside a fellow named Sean who works at Adult Swim Games. He said one of the funniest games he's played in a while is called Toro. I think it's on the PS4, and it's just the part that made him laugh is cock and ball physics actually on a roll. I think this is an up and coming genre, maybe.
I'm looking up Toro. The name's called Toro.
I believe so. This is all from
Okay.
memory. This was a week ago, 8 days ago now. So who knows if I remember it right.
So the yeah, I think what you just said is true. I think we're gonna see more and more physics games come out because people tend to just kind of gravitate to the jiggly stuff.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Right. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, 5 years ago, it was like, I can't make something like that. I can make a puzzle platformer with pixels and whatnot, but
Yeah.
People are reaching out to the tools and utilizing them, which makes me worry. Like, I want you to get your games out there before like people steal your ideas or it's all already been done.
Yeah.
It's got to be, I don't know, if you feel a pressure to get on it before you've missed the boat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about that before. I'm not doing this, I guess my take on games and game developers and the whole money thing is the chances that you're going to get rich off of this are pretty low. Because statistically, that's just how it plays out. And so I'm doing this primarily because it amuses me. But I definitely have the intention of selling these as commercial games. So I work a full-time job and I do have a family. And so the amount of time that I have to develop is, it's usually nighttime, between like 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. And weekends, got to take the kids out, do something fun. So this is very much, I'm doing it when I have time kind of stuff. But I have thought about that before. People are either going to take the ideas I've got, run with them, go ahead and sell a game similar, make $1 bazillion, maybe. I'm not too worried about that. The physics stuff is hard. It's difficult. There's a lot of, and it's not to say that, everyone listening to this, you can't figure it out. You can. It's just a lot of mathematics, a lot of tweaking, and a lot of conceptual stuff. So there is a barrier to entry for this type of game because just getting it working and believable was pretty tough. I've got a background in doing, mathematics and physics and stuff like that. Those weren't my degrees, but I definitely studied them. I had to do a lot more like math than I anticipated originally.
Interesting. Yeah, that is a good way to scare people off. To say you have to like worry about numbers, and on top of that, you don't really control what's going to happen. You're guiding it with as much math as you can muster. However, you have to embrace the fact that you are the co-creator of a world, but the world has some of its own ideas, and if you can't embrace that, you're going to be sad.
Yeah, and a lot of it's getting familiar with the physics engine. So I use Unity. The physics engine in Unity is PhysX. And so you have to kind of familiarize yourself with the engine. I'm trying to push the physics engine as hard as I can to see when it's just going to give up. And so, for example, some of the videos I've got might have like 50 dudes in it, and they're all running around and everything's controlled with physics. I'm trying to push it as hard as it'll go to see where that limit is. And once you kind of see when things are going to start to break, you just back down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing, I don't know what engine, Unreal, the Unreal engine, I don't know what physics engine it uses,
Yeah,
but it might be the same one. But my point is the physics engine that's going to determine how far you can go with this stuff. So just getting as familiar as you can with how it works, how it behaves in certain situations, and seeing where those limits are.
Sure. Do any of your games run on phones? Is that possible?
Over the last few weeks, I've really thought a lot about that because I did a WebGL build. WebGL is, you just throw it up on a website. In theory, with HTML5, it should work. So I did a WebGL build the other day.
Of which game?
Of the Bear Rodeo.
Good. Okay.
I'm gonna put it up on a website for people to just goof around with. Probably in a few weeks. I still have to tweak some stuff, but I made a WebGL build, and then the next build I want to make is like an iOS or Android build, because a lot of these games I'm making are really small and really simple, and I think it would probably play well on mobile as well. I'm a little bit scared of, not scared. I'm not convinced that I like mobile, like the model of mobile games, like the monetization.
The monetization, yes.
Yeah, it just, every time I've played something that I don't know, I don't really like the way that all of that plays out, and I don't think any developers do. Right? They want to make a game, and having to think about where you're gonna shoehorn advertisements into, or how you're going to trick people into playing more based on the amount of ads that you show. You know what I'm talking about? Like that whole thing just makes me feel a little bit dirty, and I don't think anyone likes it. The players don't like it. The developers, they like the money that it creates, but for me, I don't want to make a game that's centered around what's going to be the most effective way to get people to view advertisements.
Sure. Well,
it feels a little gross.
Yeah, I guess I hear you 100%, and maybe I'm just resigned to it, so it doesn't gross me out as much anymore. Just like if you swim in poo for long enough, it's just like I'm just swimming. Oh, it's poo. I forgot because you've been there for a while. You get used to it. For me, commercials can be very entertaining. They can be fun. A lot of people watch the Super Bowl just for the commercials. A game like Power Rodeo, I could easily imagine playing that on my phone, laughing, having fun, and then because it's a rodeo, there's going to be a clown that would come out and be like, do you guys like Google? Because we're selling Google this week. And then it just walks off, and then I'm back to the rodeo. To me, that wouldn't be too big of an interruption. And of course, if you were selling products that I thought were fun and funny anyway, it would just be seamlessly integrated. The reason I think phone is because you offer a ton of stimulation for very little. You request very little of the player to ask them for that.
Yes.
The point I'm at in my life, geez, kid, I work 7 days a week.
Right. Plus all the modeling gigs you do on the weekends.
Oh yeah. The what's the modeling agency I work for? fatandhairy.org. I'm in I play video games every morning. I wake up and I'm actually excited to get up. I go to the bathroom because that's the only time I have.
Let's get into that a little bit more.
Shall we?
Go into the bathroom? Do you want to?
I go to the bathroom and I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing in there. I'm on autopilot. I flip open my Nintendo 3DS and I play Nintendo Badge Arcade for 5 minutes. And the game asks me to do this. It asks me to hold down A and then let go. And I'm like, thank you for not asking.
That's all you can handle. Right.
That's literally all I can handle. But it rewards me with so much. It's actually a physics-based game. I don't know if you played it. It's a crane game. So you Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's not good. There's nothing smart about it other than the fact that it has tricked some people into giving them money. But you move a crane and you might bump into like a little thing you can pick up, and it'll fall down and knock the other things around, and then they fall down, and then you get a bunch of them. And he goes, "Beep, beep, beep." Every time you get one, you're like, I got things, and then you might pick one up and get another thing. It's like, wow, I didn't think I was going to get things, but I did get things. The end. And then you stop playing, and you get one free play for the most part a day. Other than that, you have to pay. And I haven't paid a cent. I have like 659 badges or something. So I love it. It's perfect for my life, but it's not actually something. And I was a little harsh before, so there's nothing smart about it. Actually, it's kind of smart. The way the things are set up, you'd have to play it, but they have some well-designed games that allow for some chain reactions and stuff that were well thought out. But compared to Danny DeVito Power Rodeo, it's got nothing. It's literally nothing compared to what you've got.
Right. I think that would translate well to mobile for that exact reason. Like I hooked up the Rodeo to just keyboard, like ASDF and then G, and each key, like you press G, it might make his butt jiggle up and down. If you press D, it might make his head go, crazy. But that would work well on mobile if you just have like real simple finger controls. I definitely want to do that. And I like your rodeo clown idea. He just comes out and screams "Buy Doritos" or something like that. That's good. Or like on the, I think what a lot of them do is when the round is over, it shows the score screen and there's a little ad on the bottom, something unintrusive.
Sure.
Maybe I would like to release a free, with a lot of my stuff, I'd like to just release a real stripped down free version just for people who want to just go jiggle around. And then after that, kind of time it to where you would release the full version. Definitely looking at iOS soon. I've one of my buddies, he's releasing on iOS, so he's pretty familiar with how to build for it and the whole app store process and all that stuff.
Great. So there's potential there, and you see it. I don't know if you've played Crossy Road. I haven't actually played
I have,
it. Seems okay. Nobody would have guessed that would be like millions. I think. But
I chat with the guy who made that a little bit every now and then. It's Voxel Frogger. It's a witty redesign on Frogger.
Right.
And I think that is one of the only games I have on my phone. I don't really have a whole lot of games on the phone.
I think I've played it. Like did I? It didn't make a huge impression on me, clearly. But
it's a 3D Frogger kind of deal, but it's well done. I mean, for a mobile game, it's it does what it's supposed to do, and it doesn't look like it was terribly hard. Like the models are, I think he built them just in a like a voxel editor. So it's not like you got to open Blender or Maya or 3D Max to model a new character. You could probably crank out 10 characters a day, at least, just with
box.
Yeah, what was that, like 16 blocks or whatever it is,
probably.
Right?
But it looks great. I mean, the look is probably my favorite part of the game overall. But more importantly, it seemed to, I don't know if they knew actually, but in the end they were right. That's what people wanted. That's how hard people wanted to work. That's what people wanted to look at. And that's how much stimulation people wanted to get back for how much they put in. There was enough points of articulation. Is that the right word? Points of connection, maybe, where you feel like you're connected to the game through A, B, or C way. But all it really asks you to do is move up right. Just don't move up wrong.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the only other mobile game I can think that that in my mind sticks out is the MC Escher looking one. I forget the name right now.
Oh, Monument
But
Valley.
real pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. That didn't make as much money as that darn Crossy Road, I don't think. And I know money is not your
Yeah.
prime objective, but at the same time, I selfishly want you to like be a hit. So other people will be like, I need to start making games like that guy instead of just making another Minecraft clone. I want you to be like an influential man about town, if you will. That would be a treat.
Oh
for
man,
me.
I'm gonna have like fur coats. I'm gonna have like fur coats and rings on every single finger, and I'm gonna alienate everyone.
Everyone will want to be you, and everyone will want to make games like that.
Right.
And I think you could do it. Flappy Bird, a hit.
Yeah.
All you do is touch the thing. Totes the Goat, not as big of a hit. I don't know if you played that one.
I haven't.
By Jules Watcham.
Yeah.
It is kind of a Qbert clone, except with voxels.
Okay.
I think Qbert was too complicated for people. They were like move
Yeah.
up and down.
Well, yeah, and
No.
for the young people, you might need to tell them what Qbert is, because yeah, they may not know.
Well, they don't know what Frogger is either, but
That's true.
they love Crossy Road because you move up. That's it.
Yeah.
Totes the Goat asked them to move up and down, and they were like, too much work. They were out.
Yeah. So my plan for the next couple weeks is to get a solid build of Bear Rodeo. So that's why people, and I'm sorry you guys been posting a lot of naked Danny DeVito model pictures. He's gonna have clothes like later today. He's already got he's got whitey tighties on right now. But my plan for the next few weeks is get a basic build for Bear Rodeo that I can post a simple build online for people to mess around with. I might do like an online leaderboard kind of deal.
Oh, cool.
And then also I want to build that same thing for mobile and just test it out. I'll get an iPad or an iPhone and just see how it goes. And the game, it's obviously not a very cerebral game. It's simple enough that it shouldn't need a whole lot more work. Man, I probably just cursed myself. It shouldn't need a whole lot more work to make it, a real simple mobile game. Yeah, it's there's not a whole lot of thought involved. It's just figure out the way to wheel a bear so he flies off.
And
that'd be perfect.
Can you imagine? You're used to this. It sounds like you're used to potentially being on the cusp of putting out something that just happens to make you like $1 million. Because I see no reason why it could happen. It could happen to you as well as it could to anybody else. But with you, I kind of think it's more likely to happen. Honest, like I think Danny DeVito is no problem. Thanks for being on the show. I thought, wow, this guy is good. I like his things, and other people clearly do too. But like, what would it be like for you if all of a sudden by the end of the summer, having put the game on iOS, you made $1 million off ads? And would you shut down shop at your day job and just go whole hog with video game development? Would it
maybe? I've thought about that, and like I mentioned before, I think telling your spouse that we're going to be okay on money because I'm becoming a game developer, it's like telling her I'm going to join a band or something. If that happens, I would love to make more games. As far as whether I'd quit the day job, I don't know. If I make $1 bazillion, maybe. Probably. That's not something that I've seriously considered just yet because I like, I like eating, and I like health. I like healthcare.
And of course. No matter how much money you make, it's not like the App Store has its own health insurance and everyone has a video there gets on. You still have to pay for that. And I wonder how much that would change your process, because right now it seems like you don't have to filter yourself all that much. You don't feel as though there's any stakes to that.
Yeah, and that's part of why I try to lay low as far as people knowing who I am in real life and stuff like that, because I love being able to post whatever hell I want to post on the internet and not having necessarily to worry about that. I I don't think my family even knows what I'm doing. Most people, even people that I know, they don't know, they know I might be messing around with game development stuff, but being anonymous on the internet is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, saying whatever you want, not having to worry about that getting back to you in real life. I think that's probably going to go away pretty soon, just because I am meeting more and more people at conventions. And do you talk about who you are and where you live and all that kind of stuff? And ultimately, I'm just some schmuck game developer, so it's probably not a huge deal. But I have liked being able to just do whatever I want at this point. And it's just me. It's not like I've got 3 other people in the room with me and I got to worry about, what is it they want to work on versus what I want to work on and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. It's truly freedom, making the game, saying whatever
Yeah.
you want on the internet, not being known, having this world, both the game you're making is a world you interact with, and then showing it to the world on the internet is another way of interacting with this real but not quite real place on twitter.com and seeing what happens, not having to worry about it. Pretty awesome. I as someone who's been relatively I wouldn't say high profile, but I've certainly been face forward. Like, people have the opportunity to find out who I am. Nobody in my non-video game world has any idea. They so don't care. Like, if you say to people over
Right.
40, like, oh, when I do video game, they've already like stopped listening and are waiting for you to stop talking and will never do you because they're like, that stuff is the worst. I'm sad that that's taking over my culture. Video games are this children's thing that's like, it's like Rise of the Machines for them. They're like, they feel like their world is at an end and they're just fighting to survive at this point because video games are more important than movies and so on. So I don't think you'll have to worry about it too much, but in a few years maybe, because we've got this whole generation of kids, which you have some, it sounds like. Yes, you were.
It's been it's probably way overkill. But the thing is, for what I do professionally, is I hunt down people, and I do what's called penetration testing, which is network security. You basically try to hack into organizations. Like, that's what I do professionally. So for the last 5-ish years, my job is to break into banks, hacking your way into banks. And to do that, you have to, a lot of times, track people down. And so me and my team of guys that I work with, we're really good at finding people, like, in real life, and then targeting them for like an email phishing, or like if I'm gonna call someone up on the phone and trick them into clicking on something they shouldn't. I've been more careful because I know how easy it is to find people on the internet. And just some of the game devs I know, even ones that aren't quote unquote famous yet, they probably will be. They've had incidents of like weird people showing up at their house, or like posting like where they live in real life. I don't know why someone would do that, but the point is, internet's a weird place.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Though my real life people have no idea, due to their like natural aversion to anything video game related. The internet world I live in, people have been incredibly intrusive, and I've had identity theft happen multiple times. And
oh, really?
And people who don't care about who don't know anything about my other life outside of video games, but they'll hate me. I think the last time people got mad at me is they found out that I called Zoe Quinn a sugar bear once, and they were like, collusion. They're lovers. They're clearly. And if you go on twitter.com for the heck of it and look up @TronKnots and then also sugar bear in your search, you'll find that I've been calling people of whatever gender, whatever age, sugar bears. Whenever I like them, I just call people a sugar bear. It's fun.
What was the main complaint about using the phrase sugar bear? Was it degrading like to women? Is that where they were going with that?
No, it was clear that Zoe and I were intimately related, because anyone you call sugar bear, you must be madly in love with and or having sex with. So, you know,
Oh, yeah.
And I had written about Zoe's games a few times before. She started a comedy website called Tid Bites, I think it was called,
Mhm.
a while ago. I didn't like review it. I was just like, somebody made a website called Tid Bites. It's got funny games on there that they made in like a week. I think she stopped doing
Got
that
it.
now. Anyway, they found that out and then like tried to tell my day job that I was unethical and I
Yeah.
was fired because of the scandal and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's the kind of nonsense that you know. I'm a very simple person, and I like having a very simple life. I think a lot of folks getting into this or anything really, they want the face on the billboards, they want to be on the talk shows. I want the opposite of that. I want to be anonymous forever if I could be, because having to deal with stuff like you just described, or the bazillion other stories like that, it just complicates your life, you know?
It does. It gives you, it's like kind of a fetch quest in a game. It's like, this is taking a lot of time. What am I
Yeah.
actually getting out of solving this problem? Oh, nothing. Like I
Yeah.
get to just have a normal life if I'm lucky, after I deal with all the people who have stolen my debit card number and tried to buy stuff in Saudi Arabia and whatnot with it. Yeah, it's a pain in the neck. I don't blame you 100%. I mean, I don't blame you at all. I'm with you 100%. Fame, I'm guessing that in 30 years, society will have a different idea about fame entirely. It won't be seen as like, oh, you're famous, that means you're talented. It'll be like, oh, you're famous, you poor thing. How much do people hate you? Plus, so many people are famous now who don't actually do anything. They don't have skills or any message, or they're just known.
Looking at you, YouTube.
Sure, reality TV, YouTube.
I'm gonna become a guy who plays video games and just screams my head off.
Can you believe
just
it
on the
works?
internet?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to tie it to what you do. People love Let's Players because they believed that they were genuine and they believed that they weren't in it for the money. That they who would like do that for money? They must be doing it because they really love it. And that's who people are drawn to and create kind of a cult of personalities around these like genuine guys. You're an actual genuine guy though, and you're making.
I'm a real dude.
And your games,
real dude.
There's no, and I've said this to many guests on the show, there is no precedent for the naked Danny DeVito bear rodeo. That's it's not like a quick scheme.
No, I'm trying to break new ground here. I only work on things that interest me. I'm really glad people like it, and it does validate, all the hard work you've been doing. But all of the stuff that I work on is the stuff that I would want to play with myself. So I'm not trying to like make naked Danny DeVito, because I think it's going to get a lot of hits on Twitter or something like that. That's just something that I think would be funny to do. Right. So I did it, and people think it's funny. But the 15-ish ideas that I've got, maybe 7 or 8 of them are solid. And they're all stuff that I personally would just play and giggle like a little kid.
And that's the kind of thing that ends up potentially getting really big, as long as it doesn't ask a ton of the player. I think a lot of comedy games are just made because the creator thought they were funny. But then 3 years later, it's become this huge thing, and the joke doesn't communicate anymore. It's become too big for its own good. I see that happen quite a bit.
Yeah, I'll probably start off initially. I'm going to make small games. Small games, I'm not going to get locked into like a 3-year game for my first game. I'm going to make a bunch of small games, see how it goes, see if people like it, see how well it plays on mobile, put it up on websites, just let people play around with it. I like the idea of making small, fun games versus a longer, more elaborate game right now.
Sure.
So over the next year, I'm hoping to have two games. I don't know which ones yet. Bear Rodeo will be one of them, and then I'll work on one of the others and release like a basic version. But I'm not going to do a long drawn out thing for my first deal.
Sure, makes sense. Have you been courted by publishers at all? People have been asking you?
I've talked with a few publishers and they all like it. I just don't have enough game made out on one of my projects to, for someone to actually make a decision on whether they want to invest in that game. And like a game like Bear Rodeo, I don't necessarily need a, I don't know, that's such a small game that if I were a publisher, I don't know that I would ever pick that up. It's just kind of a, let's spend 20 minutes giggling at this thing and then move on with our lives. For some of the bigger ones, I might talk to publishers again at some point. But yeah, I have talked to a few of them, and there's interest. There's just not enough to show to have anyone make any kind of decision just yet.
Sure, but the relationship.
And I may or may not. Yeah, I may or may not use publishers in the future. I think a lot of what they can provide is public awareness via Twitter and stuff like that. And if I can, have enough people following me that I can get the word out easily myself, then you got to weigh, is it worth it to have someone do something similar? And I know that's not all publishers do. But my point is, if I can do a lot of that stuff just because I have a community of people, then I might just make a go at it myself and see what happens.
Sure. I think from what I've seen anyway in the past year and a half, it's already changed a whole lot what the role of the publisher is. The publisher is frequently just a curator. So people follow Devolver now, and if Devolver's like, this is a good game, people are like, oh, I'll buy it. Whereas if the game just comes out without a publisher, people will be like, oh, it looks good, but I don't know, and I don't trust any reviewers anymore. I don't trust any YouTubers anymore, because sometimes they're getting paid off, and when it plays it, like, I have no idea if this is good. So, whereas if it's got the Devolver name on it, people are a little bit more likely to give it a chance. So just because there's so many games being thrown at us all the time now, we don't trust our own instincts necessarily. Like, that game looks good. Well, I've been 50 times this year already on the last Steam sale. I only like one of those games. So how do I know if it's good? Oh, the publisher told me it is.
Yeah.
All right, maybe. But you may not need that, because I think with your games, it's not like you would watch Danny DeVito Power Rodeo and be like disappointed when you get the game. I'm like, what? This isn't what I'm looking for. It just is what it is.
That is a disturbing thing that I've seen. And I think the most recent example was Firewatch, in which you spend years and years making this thing that plays out like a movie, and so people just watch it on YouTube instead of buying it.
Sure, that Dragon Tank Cancer happened with that too.
And that's a disturbing idea, that you could spend all that time, and because it's very narrative based and very movie like, people just watch someone play it, and then you don't sell enough to actually make another game. Maybe, I don't know.
Absolutely, it's a
scary thought.
It is, and I think, I'm hoping anyway, that it'll lead to good things. That it'll lead to only games that you actually get a tactile experience from. That touching it and interacting with it is a big part of why it's worthwhile. Those are the games that will end up continuing to rise to the top. I mean, I think we've already seen tons of that. So many of the most profitable games of the past 5 years, you really have to play in order to enjoy them. Like, Undertale's cool. You can watch videos of it, but the way the battle system plays out, that really makes it feel right.
Yeah.
Craft, Crossy Road, Stardew Valley. You can't just watch videos of Stardew Valley and feel
Yeah.
so. And your games too. They are
Yeah.
visually fun and funny, but playing them, I have to imagine, is where you really get that physics.
It's satisfying.
Yeah, exactly. That's the word.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly right. With the physics stuff, I'm not nearly as worried about that because it's not really narrative. It's just this little gadget thing that's fun to play around with, and it's never the same because it's not the same animation over and over for everybody. I mean, can you imagine actually, I was looking at a rodeo game yesterday that is traditional animation, and it's the most boring thing ever because you hit A and it'll spin around and then it'll kick the legs and then you hit A again, does the same exact thing, and super boring. And with the physics stuff, it's different enough every time that I don't think it will have that same problem with the YouTube. You know, people just watch it on YouTube versus buying it. You know, Gang Beasts, it doesn't. People buy that because they like jiggling around and beating up their friends. It's fun to watch on YouTube, but it's just as fun to get it yourself. It's not like you've seen this story before.
Similar to how procedurally generated level design, you can watch that, but when you play it, you'll get different yourself. So it's not as though it ends after you've seen it one time through.
Right.
You're doing that with artwork. So it's, I don't know if you ever talked to him, Alex Austin. He was on the show forever ago. I think I met him. I was hanging with the Devolver folks at GDC a lot. Oh yeah.
I can't remember if I met him. I think I did.
He's
but yeah, he's doing a lot of the physics stuff as well. Yeah.
Always has. He's older than both of us, I think. He worked on Gish with Edmund McMillan. Now he's working on Sub Rosa, which is a game where you similar as to what you're doing, but when you reload the gun, you have to like manually do every part of reloading the gun, and it like takes forever. So if you just go in and shoot up the place, you'll run out of ammo and just get killed. Yeah, he's a funny guy. I'll probably that'll be fun if you two met. So, but before you were saying like you're not worried about X, Y, and Z. Is there anything you are worried about? Like, do you think, oh crap, I don't know if I can change this, and this is something that might hold back people from understanding what I'm doing, liking what I'm doing, connecting with what I'm doing?
That's an interesting question. Anything I'm worried about? You know, I would like to do this stuff faster. I mean, full-time job, I do it after hours, basically, and weekends. I would like to be able to do a lot of it quicker so I can get more of it out. People, there's a handful of people I've seen that are really getting the hang of it. But I think what I try to do with a lot of my stuff, and hopefully I succeed, is I try to just roll my own brand of humor into the whole thing. So that even if someone does figure out how I do what I do, and I'd love to share how I do what I do. It's not like I'm purposefully keeping it secret, but everything is so custom and so many variables. You know, it changes by model. I'm not purposefully like keeping the secrets from everyone. It's just really, really tedious, and it can get pretty complex. But there's a few people are getting the hang of it. Not too worried about it because I just like making funny things that people are going to like, regardless of whether Joe Schmo down the street has got a similar physics-y kind of game. Because if there are more physics games coming out, you can only have so many like physics, let's go beat each other up kind of deal. You can put a little slant on it, but actually coming up with unique ideas for taking advantage of all physics animation. There's a huge world that's just untapped out there. And like rodeo is a great example of, let's take this physics thing and just make something that people haven't seen before. I would love to see more and more of that stuff out there. But I guess if I had one worry, it's that it's going to take me a while to get stuff out there for people to play with. But I'm feeling pretty good about where I am, and honestly, I'm not in all of this. I'm not stressing out about any of it. I'm just trying to enjoy myself. If it goes well, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll hopefully be contagious. That spirit of fun, off the cuff, inspiration, didn't think about it too hard. That's the kind of thing people tend to find the most charming, because I think most people wish they weren't so worried. And when somebody's like, I didn't worry about this much, I just made a thing. Isn't this fun? We're doing it together. And they can get rid of their own worry and catch a little bit of your fancy free, like Wendy. Everyone knows it's Wendy. You remember her walking down the streets of the city?
Yeah.
Everybody she sees.
Yeah.
Capture a moment.
Exactly.
It's Wendy.
The games are hard, man.
Yeah, they are. To just
Games
spontaneously
are
just
really
make
hard.
one. That is, most people
And
don't get to.
And what I don't want to happen is to burn out on this stuff. If I get locked into a big long thing, I guarantee you I'm going to hate it by the time it's over. And I would prefer not, that's why I bounce around between projects. I don't want to start hating something.
Sure.
That's not a good business model. I mean, people want, all right, let's commit to this, complete it. That way you're not jumping around and confusing people. Then let's do project number 2, complete it. That is a good business model. That's a good way to do business and make money. It can also kind of suck the life out of you.
Well, yeah, it makes it very responsibility focused as opposed to inspiration focused through.
But to mitigate that, I'm just going to make small stuff for now.
Right. Jump around between those things.
Not enough time to grow to. I mean, I had the thought yesterday, oh my God, I am getting really tired of looking at Danny DeVito's ass. And I've got to get these clothes on him. So he should, by the end of the weekend, he should have I'm going to make a cowboy outfit for him.
That sounds great. And also will he wear a cowboy hat?
I don't know if a bear rodeo outfit is different than a traditional rodeo outfit. I would picture like a suit of armor type deal that you wear if you're going to ride a bear. But I don't know.
Smart, but is he smart? That's the question.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm firmly in new territory here, and I don't know that anyone has ever asked the question of what would you wear in a bear rodeo. The thing is, I got to model it. I got Blender open. I got to model something. I'll start off with probably basic cowboy outfit, I guess. I don't know.
There's a documentary about a guy who was attacked by a bear, and he then decided to dedicate years of his life to making a bear-proof suit.
I think I've seen that.
It's not bad.
And he looks like a robot with it on. He looks like one of those old diving suits, right? That are all metal with a big helmet.
Yeah, and for years he tried to craft it and put more and more money into it. So I wonder if there's a way to work that in there. I'm going to tell you what my only worry about.
Sure.
For you.
Go ahead.
And this is the neat thing about the position you're in. If I were your publisher, you'd have to care what I think. But you don't have to care. You can just be like, great advice, but that would make it less fun for me. So no thanks.
Right.
That's usually what I say to people who give me advice on how to be funnier. I'm like, sure, I could be funnier, but then I wouldn't have as much fun. So anyway, I worry about any video game or internet culture related reference ever now. I think you can put Tina Turner in your game. I think you can put Danny DeVito in your game. I think you can put Elvis Presley in your game. You put Homestar Runner in your game, and all of a sudden people hate you. Not just want to kill you because you are this devil man. Actually, can you put Devil Man in your game? Have you seen Devil Man? It's the best.
I have.
Anyway, isn't it good? And now, what are you going to say to that? If you didn't like it, you can't just say no, it's bad. But anyway, there is this rampant hatred, and I think it's going to pass eventually. People are going to get over it. Well, right now, people think that old guys like you just want that internet money. So you're like, oh, I heard kids like memes. I'll put a meme in my game, and I'm strictly doing it for the cash. They don't believe for 1 second that you just think the meme was funny. So you put it in your game to make yourself laugh. They're sure that you're just a pandering, money-grubbing adult.
I'll tell you what, man. I am so wealthy. So much money. I've got so much money. What you're saying is exactly right, and I've actually been thinking about that the past few months, where I don't necessarily want to. It's not like I want to have internet memes and my stuff. And honestly, I'm gonna try going forward. I'm gonna try to avoid like references like that. I'm just gonna make my own little worlds because I can definitely see that perception. You put a Trogdor mask on a bear so that you'd get more visibility. And in reality, I love Trogdor, you know.
Trogdor is not hot right now. And I think it would be obvious that you just like Trogdor, like so many people do.
I assume that most people have no idea what that was referencing, but old timers like us, we definitely know.
I think they know. Like, there are folks, and I know a few of them, they believe that memes and the internet belong to them, that they believe that they belong to people like 21 and younger, and they research memes like they would research like how a comedian would research like Lenny Bruce or something. They want to create the next big meme, and they research all internet culture like it's a culture, like it's like a real thing, and I guess it is. And they would come.
It's a little depressing.
It is, and then I see you have Trogdor, and I'm like, I remember Trogdor from like 10 years ago. And then I know if your game got big, only if it gets big. If it's not big, people don't care. But if your game got popular, they would hate you and like find your address and try to kill you because you connected to that with Trogdor.
Well, I could definitely see that perspective from their point of view. I genuinely don't care. You know, like I don't care even a little bit. The things that I am aware of that whole deal, and I'm not attempting to be a guy who, you know, gets a lot of followers by posting memes. I think a lot of the stuff I do, it spreads because it's jiggly and you know, some of it's funny, but that's another in my philosophy of approaching this. You know, let's do it as a low stress so you don't grow to hate it, and then make stuff that you like. If people don't like it, that's completely great. Genuinely don't care, because I'm in this initially I'm in this to just entertain myself, keep my brain busy, and do something that combines a lot of the stuff that I really like. Storytelling, physics, programming, video games, modeling. It's a combination of ton. I mean, I guess just the entertainment industry in general, like movies and games. Sure. It combines so many different things, you know, with the technical side versus the artistic side. You can kind of get into anything you want, really.
Yeah, you're doing it. Is there a better note to end on than that? I think we're at our full. I don't know if it felt like an hour and a half to you, but I think we're at an hour and a half. Started at 2:45. We started late because my microphone wouldn't work. Good enough. The microphone worked. We did the show. Hunter, what a pleasure. I still can't believe your name is Hunter.
Yeah.
You hunt people on the internet.
Yeah, like a predator.
You make a video game about a bear who hunts down a warden and is hunted, I assume, as well at some point.
Stalked.
Wow. Hunter.
Yeah.
Perfect name. Your parents should be proud. Thank you so much for being on the show. They can look
Thank
at
you.
things you do on punchbears.com.
Punchesbears.com.
Punches.
Or just go to Google, type in Punches Bears, and I don't think anything else will come up.
And
Except,
there's no actual punching of bears in your games yet, is there? They come out in 06?
oh, there is. I've got a prototype of like Danny wrestling Roscoe. Like I was gonna make a prototype where he wrestles the bear for a ham sandwich, like they're fighting each other for a ham sandwich. So he does punch, like he does punch the bear.
Ah, got it. And the bear can punch back.
He mauls him to death.
Well, can't wait to see that. They can follow you on Twitter as well. Your Punches Bears on Twitter.
Punches Bears
As
on
for
Twitter.
me, I'm at Tronauts on Twitter. You can follow me there for things I'm doing. We just finished a new issue of Nintendo Force. That'll be fun. I hope that you get a game on a Nintendo console at some point, just so I can write about it in a print magazine. Like, Daniel DeVito was mauled over this ham sandwich now on the NX. That would be fun for me. I'm also, where am I? Writing on Destructoid. I wrote about Suda51's game on Destructoid just now. That's fun. It's called Let It Die. I got to play that with him. You can follow the show, Sup Holmes. You can watch it on youtube.com. You can listen to it on iTunes and Libsyn. And I think that's it. Okay. Whew. Did it. Good enough, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.